Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Mr. Vice President, I'm going off script again, I know, but I just want to personally thank you. We've been through some stuff. We've gone through some of the most complex military operations this country's ever conducted, and your steady hand and your leadership during those was a great source of strength for me. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your character. Thank you for your selfless service. Thank you for commitment. Thank you for being a mentor to me, Mr. Vice President.
It's called the swamp. And you know what happened? And you know what I did? A big favor. I caught the swamp. I caught them all. Let's see what happens. Nobody else could have done that but me. I caught all of this corruption that was going on, and nobody else could have done it. Did I get that one right? Every 4 years, we gather on these steps to carry out the orderly and peaceful transfer of power. Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning, because today we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people. For too long, a small group in our nation's capital has reaped the rewards of government, while the people have borne the cost. Washington flourished, but the people did not share in its wealth. This American carnage stops right here and stops right now. The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer. From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first.
This is a president of the United States who is a danger to the Republic.
America first.
He knows he's an illegitimate president.
The oath of office I take today is an oath of allegiance to all Americans.
The great Trump recovery.
America will never be a socialist country. I will fight for you with every breath in my body.
Russia, Russian, pro-Russian, Russian, Russia, Russian, 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 the Russians.
Russia.
And I will never, ever let you down.
A dangerous virus is spreading rapidly in China, and U.S. officials are very worried that it could come here.
This is really the worst attack we've ever had. This is worse than Pearl Harbor. This is worse than the World Trade Center. There's never been an attack like this.
The time for empty talk is over. Now arrives the hour of action. What they're doing is using COVID to steal an election. Together, we will make America strong again. You know what it's about? Fraud, fake ballots. We will make America wealthy again. They are trying to steal the election.
Now, under the leadership of President Trump, we are fully realizing President Kennedy's prescient view of Special Operations Forces.
We will make America proud again. And watch, please, those mail-in ballots. We will make America safe again. And in millions and millions of ballots. Their vote is under what they thought they needed. They're dumping more ballots in there, okay? And yes, together, we will make America great again. Thank you. God bless you. If we are right about the fraud, Joe Biden can't be president.
Congress, the chair declares the joint session dissolved.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Saturday edition of the Devolution Power Hour. Hope you guys are having a great weekend. It's certainly been an entertaining one. Chris, Patrick After Dark, how we doing?
I'm doing great. I'm loving my office, man. My lighting sucks, so I'm using one of these special lights I got that Zach recommended to me, and I don't know how to use it yet, so this is all retarded looking, but believe me, it's better than the freaking overhead fluorescent light that I have to replace. So yeah, there's my story.
Thanks, man. Glad to hear it. Chris, how you doing?
Patrick After Dark, I think, is maybe a new show for Badlands.
Hey, you never know. Me selling shit on the internet 3:00 in the morning.
That would be great, actually. You should have a home shopping network sort of deal.
There you go.
Yeah.
Just run through all our sponsors.
It would just be all Patrick, all commercials all the time.
We would get so much viewage.
Love that word. Anyway, today, like one of the bigger Trump developments, I think, in terms of that tweet that he had, we're going to talk about that today. But obviously, before we do, we got to talk about the conservative Thots and Elon Musk. And we just got to quickly touch on that story because it's gotten so much more ridiculous. There's also some financial stuff we'll discuss tonight. Before we do any of that, how about we get one of those commercials out of you?
Absolutely.
Patrick.
River announces Bitcoin interest on cash. Now, US dollars in your River account will earn a high yield interest rate that can be paid in Bitcoin. With the price of groceries, mortgage, and tuition on a steep rise, people are now looking at a retirement age of 80 instead of 60. And it's all because dollars are losing value at a record pace. The challenge is finding a way to hold on to your dollar while still getting ahead. That's where River Bitcoin comes in. River Bitcoin's interest on cash protects your dollars with FDIC insurance while offering you the option to reap the potential gains of Bitcoin. Over the past 2 years, you would have earned 2 times the rate of most high-yield savings accounts and 16 times the rate of the national average savings account with Bitcoin interest on cash. Get started at badlandsmedia.tv/river. Move your cash to River today and start earning a real interest rate with Bitcoin. That's badlandsmedia.tv/river.
Awesome. Thank you, Patrick. So is everybody aware of what's like transpiring with this story? I mean,
okay, so I am, Chris is, we all three of us are, but the audience may not be. So we should at least catch them up to a certain extent.
I think you also have to define Thots too.
All right, let's start with that. Okay. So E meaning electronic.
Yeah.
Thought being an acronym, THOT, acronym meaning that hoe over there. Yeah. So we cleared that up.
Yeah.
Very well done. Okay. Well, with that said, and everybody using the same definitions of things, we had this post yesterday just out of nowhere. Patrick, if you wouldn't mind.
Ashley St. Clair on Twitter with the caption, Alia iacta est. 5 months ago, I welcomed a new baby into the world. Elon Musk is the father. I have not previously disclosed this to protect our child's privacy and safety, but in recent days, it has become clear that tabloid media intends to do so regardless of the harm it will cause. I intend to allow our child to grow in a normal and safe environment. For that reason, I ask that the media honor our child's privacy and refrain from invasive reporting. To which I immediately responded, happily.
Yeah.
And then
it is kind of weird. That's like, hey, here's a super big public announcement that I have a Elon Musk baby. Please respect my privacy. And then today she did this whole expose with New York Post, like pictures and everything included, but how she's like the victim in all this. Honestly, like, and I love babies, very pro life. It's just the way this whole thing unfolded. It's just entertaining. You can't look away. It's like watching a train wreck. Look at the who's responded in these posts, because this is very interesting as well. It's like all of Con Inc.
Oy vey, look at this. Sorry. So yeah, it's Oh, I'm so proud of you, Ashley St. Clair. You had a baby. Oh, look at this. Candace Owens, Robbie Starbuck, Ann Vandersteel, Matt Gates, Valentina Gomez. Oh, Kylie Jenner? Is that right?
I don't know.
No, Kylie Jane Kremer.
Hodge. It's like all of
Eva,
Twitter conning, the
dude,
breaking news brigade.
Eva Vardigerbrook. She's hot.
Man, the reaction to this, like everybody piling in like that, the reaction to Elon generally is like what I used to see in Hollywood when one of the really famous people would walk into the club. Like if Leo was there on a given night, everybody, the energy would just be focused there, especially
Leo.
under women like DiCaprio, especially with women like this. It would just be like laser eyes at him, watching the entire night, seeing when they could get their angle in, no matter how it had to happen, make sure that at some point they got the attention. Maybe they would ultimately win. And that's all that Twitter is now. It's just everybody contesting for Elon's attention. It's really embarrassing.
Well, and that's the part that's interesting, because since this tweet yesterday, there's been a lot of prior research. I don't even know if research is the right word. Ashley St. Clair's history is now coming to light, and Milo is one of the ones who's been bringing it to light, and Elon even responded to one of his posts. And now what I want to see is, like, are all those people in Con Inc. and all the people that just follow Elon around, sucking his dick for impressions and whatnot, are they now going to chime in that there's clearly a rift here between Ashley and Elon? Or they're just going to go dead silent? Every one of them was first to jump in there and say, congratulations, this is amazing. And now nobody said a word, since there's clearly like this wedge.
The other thing worth mentioning is that the contact on her statement there is a crisis PR firm. And what crisis PR does is basically, I mean, it's kind of in the name, but when there's some sort of controversial event, they'll like handle all the communications to make sure that the side paying them is having their side of the story put out to protect that person's image and reputation as much as possible, to deal with all that stuff so that they don't have to deal with it themselves. So like all of her reactions at this point are probably directed by crisis PR. And maybe she's making these posts that she's deleted of her own volition, and then they're telling her to take them down. But there's definitely
we'll show you those quick.
Yeah. So there's a rift, but we haven't gotten there yet. The first thing that happens is there's a very old tweet from Ashley that says, I needed to get Elon Musk's attention for a marriage proposal. Please, Greg. She's saying that to Greg Price. And he says, he's got a kid with a woman already, seems unlikely to work out, to which, and by the way, this is May 20th, 2020. So props on the long game, Ashley. She says, well, he actually has 7 kids and goes through women pretty fast. So, yeah.
Yeah. And then I do have some of those tweets from before.
But then we see Elon actually reply to that. He's like, whoa, dude.
Elon responds, says, whoa. And then she responded to him and this interaction like twice, I think, or 3 times, and has since deleted them all. But these are worth reading as well.
FYI, Ashley St. Clair, the security team on Elon's own platform locked the account he is now responding to for a week for posting non-consensual underwear photo of me as a child.
That she first posted on the internet. Like there were pictures of
posts.
There were pictures she posted to Twitter prior, and he just took pictures of them and posted them himself. But they were ones she posted first.
So how is it non-consensual?
I don't know. She just has somebody's number. She has somebody on Signal from Twitter that is willing to do her handiwork on Twitter.
That's freaking amazing. This girl is one. This is one clever, cunning little. She's something. She's something.
So people in the chat are having a meltdown. Like, why is this important? Well, it's important because Elon Musk is the the vehicle for the exposure of all the government waste and corruption. And he's about to go after the IRS and the Pentagon. So if you don't understand why a takedown op on Elon Musk to embarrass and discredit him is important, I don't know how to help you.
However, the chat could respond back by saying, yeah, but you can't take people down this way anymore. No one cares.
I don't think that's true. I mean, it might be true in our community. Is that true generally? I don't think so.
It's also important, guys, to recognize the people and how they respond to the op. Like all of Con Inc. responded favorably to Ashley at first, and now all of them are silent now that there's a rift. They don't want to comment on it. And everybody's being like, oh, who cares? Just move on. Every one of those people don't want you to know that they're part of Con Inc. Like Ashley was part of their circle. She was an obvious one. And everybody's silent now. This stuff, recognizing this stuff is important. We're not going to spend all day. We're not sitting here talking culture wars. We're going to get to the Trump thing shortly, but this is part of the op, guys.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely an op of one kind or another. It is an op against Elon Musk. I just don't think it's a very effective one. No. If Ashley St. Clair has a child out of wedlock, you know that Elon will take care of it and will in one way or another make sure to try to be in the kid's life. Obviously, if she went into this intending to become a single mother, that's just not okay in my opinion, but it's none of my business either. So I think the whole point is, okay, is this operation going to do harm to our movement? And I say the answer to that question is no.
I would agree with that. It's also interesting that, so, you know, I think maybe we talked a year or so ago about how there are a few people in kind of American public life who can shift conversations across the entire culture in a moment's notice. Like Donald Trump is certainly one of them. And then the two on the tier below that, I think would be Elon Musk and Kanye West. And it's interesting that Milo was kind of the one who blew up the Nick Fuentes thing with Kanye, I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago. And now he's the one blowing up this op to go after Elon. So the Nick Fuentes thing was going after Trump down at Mar-a-Lago, and then this going after Elon. I think that just is an interesting connection. And
a very interesting
see if anything
connection
happens there.
Plus, Patrick, you kind of said before the show, like this is Elon's platform.
Yeah.
He could, if he really wanted to, not that they can manipulate the algorithms on Twitter, but he can make it so that not everything you see on Twitter right now is this story.
It is being foisted upon me with the insistence of a catheter. I have never seen anything blow up quite this much. Why? It's Elon's embarrassing little story, or it's Elon's happy baby announcement. So we find out it's Elon's embarrassing little story. Elon is, you think he doesn't know that she made that comment 7 years ago? I say no. I think he did know. And I think it's all play acting. But also, why? I don't know. But there's got to be some reason. The big one would be, okay, we're being distracted from something absolutely huge. That would be, in my opinion, the best explanation for what we're watching here. Ashley St. Clair has a baby. Elon loves like upping the numbers. You know, he wants to have 100 or something like that. He wants to be Genghis Khan. You know, good for him. None of my business. But what it could be is, okay, not only are you going to have my baby, but at just the right time, we're going to release this right before this other thing happens. Okay, I love it. Let's see what
he comments on it. Like he drew more attention to it with the comment, because then she posted a bunch of stuff, deleted it. I have one more tweet I want to have you read here.
Ashley St. Clair, and this was
actually no wait, not
28 p.m.
Let's not do this one. Let's do this one.
Okay, so we got Milo.
You can just read the very bottom.
Gotcha. Elon, this is Ashley. Elon, we've been trying to communicate for the past several days and you have not responded. When are you going to reply to us instead of publicly responding to smears from an individual who just posted photos of me in underwear at 15 years old?
Yeah, but the fact that he leaned into this, it is a little interesting considering what you said before, Chris, about what he's going after, what he's been doing, and who his targets are this next week. Does he want people's eyes distracted by this so they aren't focusing on his work at the IRS and DOD?
Or focusing on other things like the fact that the Fort Knox might be empty, but I don't know. It could be all sorts of unbelievable things. But of all days that you would expect a monumental distraction, it would be the same day that Donald Trump lets out a crossing the Rubicon type tweet. So I don't know. And by the way, I'm sure half the internet can draw her boobs from memory. For her to play victim like this because of somebody posting a picture of her in her underwear that she herself posted is either ridiculous or designed purely to elicit outrage, ire, attention of one kind or another.
Got anything, Chris?
No.
All right. Well, let's go to Trump's tweet then, because this was pretty awesome.
Donald J. Trump on Twitter. He who saves his country does not violate any law. That's today.
That was this today. Yep. Look, I got so many views too. 91 million views. This is a Napoleon Bonaparte quote originally. Oh, Chris, you should almost pull up that picture of perpetual.
By the way, it's just speculated that it was Napoleon.
Yeah. Most, I mean, yeah, that's notable that they give credit to him. But I think that what you sent earlier, that picture of the perplexity, I think we should read that too.
Yeah. Okay. Let me
actually, no, I can
find that.
I can pull it up, but you should read these here quick, because this is what it kind of reminded me of when I first saw this tweet. It's like very much in line with what Trump has truthed before.
Aha. Okay. So he truthed it before. He who saves his country does not violate any law. And he did that today. Wait. He didn't. Did he tweet that exact same thing before too?
No, these other ones are different.
Gotcha. Okay. So, and then December 3rd, 2022. So after the stolen midterms, unprecedented fraud requires unprecedented cure. And same day he posted, so with the revelation of massive widespread fraud and deception and working closely with big tech companies, the DNC and the Democrat Party, do you throw the presidential election results of 2020 out and declare the rightful winner, or do you have a new election? A massive fraud of this type and magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution. Our great founders did not want and would not condone false and fraudulent elections.
And then this is what you had sent earlier, Chris.
Okay. From Perplexity, the statement, he who saves his country does not violate any law, is often attributed to Napoleon Bonaparte, though its exact origin is debated. Historically, this phrase reflects a broader idea that actions taken in the name of national survival or greater good can justify bypassing legal or ethical norms. This concept has been invoked in various political and historical contexts, often to defend controversial decisions or authoritarian measures. While there is no direct legal precedent for this statement in U.S. law, it parallels arguments made by leaders who claim exceptional authority during crises. For example, Abraham Lincoln justified suspending habeas corpus during the Civil War as necessary to preserve the Union, though this was heavily debated. Similarly, some authoritarian regimes have used similar rhetoric to justify actions outside legal frameworks. However, such reasoning often conflicts with principles of democratic rule of law, which emphasize accountability and adherence to legal norms.
Yeah, so the reason this stuck out to me so much is because we've essentially been talking about this argument right here for 4 years, ever since we started doing devolution stuff. The one pushback I'd always get was, well, it's unconstitutional for Trump to have implemented something like devolution. And my rebuttal is always, well, it's probably a little more unconstitutional for him to allow people who stole the election to take office, not to mention all the other corrupt ties they might have. Mm-hmm. And then it brought me back to this this article from the series, this highlighted part, because it sounded like he was almost describing wartime powers that a president might have. Mm-hmm. So let's read this, Patrick, and then
is this from part 4?
This is part well, this is from the introduction, and it's in part 4. Yep.
Okay. There is a DC Circuit case, Campbell v. Clinton, setting precedent for what measures a president can take to repel foreign aggression. Recognizing that the president has no power to initiate or declare a war, observed that war may exist without a declaration on either side. In instances where war is declared against the United States by the actions of another country, the president does not initiate the war, but is bound to accept the challenge without waiting for any special legislative authority. Importantly, the court made clear that it would not dispute the president on measures necessary to repel foreign aggression. The president alone must determine what degree of force the crisis demands.
Yeah. So the theory being he viewed whatever happened as an act of war, and that's what he used essentially as his authority to implement something like devolution. And now he's hinting at something along those lines, not necessarily devolution, but just generally. Chris, what do you think of this?
Well, I think that if you kind of pursue this enough, you get into the kind of illusory effect of these formal restrictions that we believe that our Constitution and our government provide at all times. And I don't think that those are actually real. You know, if you can say that we're in a constitutional crisis, first of all, the media all week has been screaming that we are in a constitutional crisis. The liberal media has been screaming it all week. And before that, the conservative media was screaming it over the judge's decisions trying to thwart Donald Trump and what he was trying to put in place. If you take it back far enough, you know, it really becomes then a matter of how long have we been in a state of emergency? How long have we been in a state of war? How long has it been since our Constitution has been usurped and overthrown? And if you go back far enough and you agree, yes, it was this, you know, this long ago or this long ago or this long ago, at any point, either side could say, well, I'm just violating the Constitution in order to save the Union. We could go all the way back to Lincoln with that and kind of talked about that a second ago. And so if you understand that, and that's like our foundation or our baseline, then we're in a different part of the conversation. Who's going to be convinced? Where are the people ultimately going to come down on either side of this? Who then is pulling the strings at a higher level? And what has to be done to kind of keep a lid on everything so that the people generally think that the situation is still legitimate in some way?
Yeah. I would go so far as to say that the entire compact that the Constitution represents is predicated upon elections. If you look in the way the Constitution has our system set up, there are elections involved. Our representatives, which are elected, go to Washington, D.C., and they vote on laws. There's your Article 1. The president, who is elected by electors in the states, okay, well, that entire process has fallen apart. There are no legitimate representatives. There are no legitimate electors. I would go so far as to say there is no legitimate president. There are no legitimate officers of the Constitution. The Constitution has been vitiated. At this point, it is the law of the jungle. So whatever he does, it doesn't matter that it's unconstitutional because there is no Constitution.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with all that, but also, as we've been saying for a long time, Trump is still operating in the battle space in that narrative as if there is.
Yes.
And I think that's important because he's still doing that for, in some ways right now, we kind of have to operate that way too, at least interpret things that way until he moves us out of that. And maybe that is what he's referring to here is the next phase, because Trump knows like the power of his social media posts. He knows the ones that will get people like us super riled up. And this post has 91, like everybody's freaking out over this thing, almost 92 million views. Even the left is like, this guy's the president. He's, you know, we told you he'd be a dictator. Look what he's saying. But he's maybe not saying something like this very lightly, because what he's implying here, I mean, are we going to see something in the very near future that's going to have us questioning whether what he's doing is violating the law? Like we just had the SCOTUS do that presidential immunity ruling not that long ago. It's just an interesting tweet for him to put out.
I think that one of the patterns we've been able to observe over the entire Trump era is that he's playing by their rules, and also he's playing by the formal rules of the Constitution as written. And he's also going, I don't know how to say it the right way, that he's going kind of beyond that, but making sure that whatever he does conforms in a way to those as well. Right. he's not breaking the rules, but he's going beyond all of the norms and doing everything that he can within the boundaries and justifications that those provide. I don't know if that makes sense. I hope it does.
It does make sense. He is conforming narratively to the confines of the Constitution and what the people expect a constitutional order to look like. Both of these things can be true, that this is the law of the jungle and that the Constitution has been vitiated, but that public opinion requires that the appearance of constitutional behavior still take place. Under Article 2 of the Constitution, the president has plenary executive authority. That's a big amount of authority. That means there is no vetting that takes place of his personnel that the president himself does not authorize, that the president can hire whom he wants in the executive branch. He can fire whom he wants in the executive branch. If a civil service law says the president is not allowed to fire somebody, then that law is unconstitutional. Article 2 begins with the simple statement, the executive shall rest in a president. The end. It's unambiguous. However, in his first term, and I think he said this at some point, he said Nixon tried to use Article 2 powers really, really quickly and started firing everybody. He was wildly popular, by the way. Nixon won a second term in a landslide.
Yep.
And what were they able to do? Look what happened to Nixon. Trump made that point in some interview that I don't remember, but he said really clearly, I could do that. I have the power to do, and I quote, whatever I want. I think that he simply had to put everything in place to the point where he could actually do whatever he want without getting Watergated. And the only way to do that would be to annihilate the credibility of the mainstream press.
So I think like where you were almost going with that, and I thought you were going to get there, Patrick, was he's operating in a certain way narratively within the confines of what the Constitution we're told is. It's what he's doing outside of the narrative stuff that I think is the most important stuff, because that's where I think devolution lies. That's where I think all these other things where he was able to walk away for 4 years and still somehow, like that clip from Modi, we should find that clip, Chris.
I've got it actually, John.
Yeah, pull that up.
Yeah.
Like all the things that we've been talking about these last 3 years or whatever it's been about what's been going on that we think behind the scenes, right? I mean, it's speculation, of course, but that's the stuff that happens outside of the narrative stuff Trump is doing. And when he talks about this stuff, he who saves his country does not violate any law. Are we going to get some sort of revelation where people are like, oh, what was he doing? A president can't do that. But if his justification is, I was doing it to save my country, is SCOTUS going to uphold it?
Mr. Modi of India. He is a great friend of mine for a long time. We've had a wonderful relationship, and we kept the relationship during the 4-year period. The period that was a very interesting period indeed. I got to see how not to do things. And we've just started up again, and we have, I think, some very big things to talk about. Number one is they're going to be purchasing a lot of our oil and gas. We have more oil and gas than any other country in the world by far. And they need it, and we have it. And we're going to talk about trade. We're going to talk about many things, but it's really an honor to see you, and you've been my friend for a long time, and congratulations on having done a great job.
Thank you.
Maintaining the last 4 years.
It was a weird time.
It's clearly a violation of the Logan Act.
It was the best of times, and it was the worst of times.
No, it was, what'd you say again yesterday, Chris? It was the best.
It was the smartest of times. It was the retardest of times.
Oh, so good.
I'll pull up I love the meme that came up the other day.
This one?
Oh, yeah, it's great.
So good. What did you type into ChatGPT or whatever to get it to draw that?
I don't know. I can find the prompt.
That's so perfect.
You know what? On the left, the real guy looks like Milo. The real person, not the.
Kind of does. Yeah, it's a great tweet. Oh, dude, the interactions I got on this too. Like, so many people want you back on Twitter.
What are you gonna do, man? How are you gonna get back on Twitter, Chris?
Tell them to give me my account back.
Yeah, okay, but
they're not gonna do that
because they suck.
So I guess that's the deal.
Just make a new account.
I just don't want to.
Or this is what you need to do. We need to get somebody to seduce Ashley St. Clair to get the contact info for her Twitter guy.
Totally.
And then we can get him to do it.
That would be nice.
Or you could just create a new account, bro.
Let's call it "And I'll Whisper Yes."
That is a reference to Kurt Schlichter's sock account that he uses to harass people without.
Oh,
putting
that's
his name on.
right.
Yeah,
that's funny. But yeah, man. Do you have any other thoughts on that India clip?
I just think it's yet another one of those little hints from Trump. He's been talking to all of these people for all of these years, and I would say conducting American foreign policy for these last 4 years. And you just have to notice at this point, watching what happened in Europe this week, how insignificant those European nations are individually and collectively when stacked up against Russia and China and Saudi Arabia and various other parts of the Middle East. And, you know, Bolsonaro when he's back in Brazil and some of these other world leaders, you stack them up against Emmanuel Macron and like Olaf Scholz and these ridiculous figures, Keir Starmer in the UK. Are these even countries anymore? Like without the United States being Team America World Police and the Wall Street Journal, they had a former NATO guy from Denmark write a column, I think on Monday or Tuesday, talking about how America was no longer the world's police. Every one of the their infrastructure and how they overthrow other countries and then maintain their control over other countries, it's all going away.
We should talk a little bit about what JD Vance did, because he was at the German or the Munich summit or whatever. Was it a security summit?
Yeah.
Are we moving on from the India stuff?
Yeah, unless you have something to add.
Just one last thing. Trump did something so cool during question time from the press, and I put the link in the private chat. You
can share your screen.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So he takes a question from a reporter from India.
You gonna pull it up?
I haven't shared it yet, have I?
I just
it's shared. All right, good. Sorry.
All good.
Mr. President, people in India would be welcoming your decision to extradite Habur Rana to.
I can't understand a word he's saying.
So I just appreciated that, because that was really obnoxious to send up the one dude in the press who can't even form a coherent sentence in English. And he doesn't even try. I can't understand a word you're saying next. So
yeah, that was pretty good. I have two clips here. I have one of JD Vance for sure, where he's talking about democracy and Greta Thunberg. I think we can play that. And then I do have the rebuttal that I don't even know his name. The guy who was just super pissed off about everything JD Vance was saying. So I think that's worthwhile. But here's the first one.
And expressing opinions isn't election interference. Even when people express views outside your own country, and even when those people are very influential. And trust me, I say this with all humor. If American democracy can survive 10 years of Greta Thunberg scolding, you guys can survive a few months of Elon Musk. But what no democracy, American, German, or European, will survive is telling millions of voters that their thoughts and concerns, their aspirations, their pleas for relief are invalid or unworthy of even being considered. And
I did think this was a good clip, because he's calling them out to their faces. And I like when that happens in any scenario. Doesn't matter who says it. So I thought this was good. I don't know if you guys have anything you want to say on this one.
It's fantastic. We're in a situation where the European Union has not budged from the notion that they must continue fighting the Ukraine war down to the very last European, if necessary. It's absolutely breathtaking that they will not accept any of the realities on the ground, that's not going to happen. What is their goal? To destroy all of Russia? Because there's no peace settlement that they would be willing to tolerate. In fact, there was a tweet from the the odious Boris Johnson saying just that, which was basically, there is no negotiation that can possibly take place. We must continue to send military aid to Ukraine forever and ever. Amen. And it's just unbelievable that they will not stop. They persist in this madness.
It seems like they have to make themselves relevant somehow again, and they're not able to do it, and they're not finding a path to doing it. And I kind of got the impression that they were looking for this week to help them do that. I mean, yesterday, in the hours before this speech at the security conference, they had a false flag at Chernobyl, and they did a truck attack in Munich.
I have the video of the Chernobyl thing here too. Of all the places, and this is the one that made the least amount of sense to me. Like, why, if you're Russia, you just got off the phone with Trump like 2 days before talking about peace. Trump comes out and says, yeah, he's coming here, we're going there, but oh wait, I forgot, we have to go to Saudi Arabia first and negotiate the peace. But they're already talking about coming to visit each other's countries once it's over. And then you're going to order a drone strike when if you wanted to do damage to Chernobyl and you're Russia, you could do better than a drone strike. But no, they send a little guy, and this is what it does. I think we have pictures too. It's like somebody shot fire. Makes no sense to do that. Clearly, like, what, Chris?
It's the idea that that was going to scare anyone into thinking that there was some nuclear disaster on the horizon and Russia's like courting all out nuclear war. They've run that up 5 or 10 times in the last 3 years since Putin's very brutal invasion, mostly at Zaporozhye. But one of the first events of the very brutal invasion was the capture of Chernobyl in the exclusion zone, which, by the way, despite the great nuclear fallout, is one of the lushest wildlife preserves in the world.
Yeah, thankfully, Zelensky did comment that radiation levels seem normal after the bomb attack.
They sent the IAEA there just to make sure. You know, it's funny. I was trying to ask the machine and get it to tell me what exactly the nuclear fallout 40 years on, what that's made of. And it's basically reports of 5,000 cases of thyroid cancer that might be linked to it.
They can't even prove it?
Of course they can't. All right, so let's just put it this way. So they teach you about the half-life of uranium-230 whatever. And if you're a smart person who's good at math, you can compute exactly how much remaining radioactivity there is there and how long it's going to remain. You're proud of the fact that you can work that math out. And so when a jackass like me comes along who can also work the math out, says there's no evidence for any of that, they get butthurt. But there is no evidence for long-term toxicity due to the presence of radioactive isotopes such as uranium.
Especially at Chernobyl, you're saying?
Oh, yeah. Chernobyl, 3 Mile Island, it's all bullshit.
Yeah, we
did a basis designed to make it so that you stay away from those places.
Yeah, we did a basis conspiracies episode on that topic. You guys should look that up if you haven't seen it. But it's just funny because it's of all the things that you would not see from Russia in the immediate aftermath of the pre-peace discussions, or at least the pre-outlining the plan of peace that was already agreed to discussions, is them bombing with a drone Chernobyl. Just makes no logical sense. But of course, they try to spin it into something that's not.
Well, maybe they're just trying to, maybe both of those events were to further embarrass the Europeans and make their position look even worse, because the one is just so obviously fake. The Chernobyl thing is preposterous. And I can't imagine anyone would have bought into the idea that Russia actually attacked the Chernobyl containment facility. And the Munich car thing, J.D. Vance actually used that in his speech to make the point about immigration.
Yeah. And that was a good point too. I do have, let me play this clip. German Defense Minister Pistorius, he was not happy. I don't know if we'll listen to this whole thing, but
it's in German, right?
Yeah, but I think there's a
This is why I cannot just ignore what we heard before. I cannot not comment on the speech we heard by the US Vice President. We fight for your right to be against us. That is the motto, one of the mottos of the Bundeswehr, and it stands for our democracy. This democracy that was just called into question by the US Vice President, and not just the German democracy, but Europe as a whole. He spoke of the annulment of democracy, and if I understood him correctly, he compares the condition of Europe with the condition that prevails in some authoritarian regimes. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not acceptable.
They'll clap for that. We can probably even stop right there.
No, dude.
You want to keep going?
I love this. He sounds like such a child. He said, this is not acceptable. That's the part that we need to remember. He wasn't saying, I disagree with this. He's saying it's unacceptable for you to say these things. It's a very, very different framing, and it's childish, and the world is through with it.
Chris, you got anything, or I'll keep playing?
If you want to keep playing. I just also think we should talk about the plane thing as well.
Okay. If you want to bail on this guy, that's cool, because he's just going to say the same shit. Still,
we might as well listen to it.
Okay.
I do like how the translator says democracy the way Patrick does.
Democracy.
Das ist nicht akzeptabel und das ist nicht
This is not acceptable. This is not the Europe, not the democracy where I live and where I conduct my election campaign right now. And this is not the democracy that I witness every day in our parliament. In our democracy, every opinion has a voice, and it makes it possible for parties that are partly extremist, such as the AfD, and they can campaign just as any other party. This is democracy. And if the Vice President had the opportunity to switch on his TV set when he arrived yesterday, he would have seen one of those candidates in primetime TV. By the way, we even admit media that spread Russian propaganda, and the representatives of the federal government answer their questions. Nobody is excluded. But democracy does not mean that a vociferous minority will automatically be right, and they cannot decide what truth is. It does not mean that anyone can say anything, and democracy must be able to defend itself against extremists that try to destroy it. I am happy to live in Europe where this democracy is defended every day against its internal and external enemies. And therefore, I would like to explicitly contradict and oppose the impression that Vice President Vance suggested here, that our democracies oppress and silence minorities. We not only know against whom we defend our countries, but also what we defend it for. It's for democracy, for freedom of opinion, for the rule of law, and the dignity of each and every one, ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, but unlike the Vice President, I would also like to focus my speech on the most pressing questions of European and transatlantic security. The last days have confirmed what many had speculated for months. The United States are pushing for a quick peace settlement between Russia and Ukraine, and they expect Europe to take the lead in securing any agreement that follows.
So he like bitched him out in German and then switches to English to talk about the peace plan?
Yeah, and what I'm sure he would have said next would have been something. And I am here to tell you, any peace agreement is completely unacceptable. We must kill them all. And that would have been that is these people's freaking position, dude. There is no end in sight as far as they're concerned to whatever needs to happen in Ukraine. Just kill, kill, kill. More blood for the blood god.
Yeah. Chris?
I mean, obviously I'm with that sentiment, of course. I think it's funny that Europe's not any part of this peace process at all. General Kellogg even said today that, like, no, we're not going to involve Europe. And honestly, why would they? Why would they involve Ukraine for that matter?
They shouldn't.
It's funny that Europe...
Are they really, though? Because isn't Zelensky complaining that he's not being involved enough?
Well, they keep kind of like saying that they're going to loop him in. I mean, what sort of input could he possibly have? Is he even an actual president? The answer is no. Is Ukraine even a real country? The answer is probably no. So I don't know what it could mean. The U.S. is their police force over there. That's what he's upset about. He's saying that Europe's going to have to guarantee the peace. Europe's not going to have to guarantee the peace. It's just that the United States is not going to defend them anymore.
And it's the way it should be. And this is where I am hopeful about some of the economic stuff being a little more impactful sooner rather than later. Because with all the stuff they're finding in corruption, the money we're sending over there, the tariffs, and then if we stop spending money on their security, like in these programs, these countries are going to they're going to go bankrupt. And Patrick, we'll get to that story that you said earlier about the gold too, because that plays a role. I do have that clip from Kellogg. I think this is the one where he's talking about NATO or these European countries not being at the table.
Before you do that, John, you just mentioned the thing about them being bankrupt. It's hard to see that they're not bankrupt already. I mean, Are they different than Canada? Like we subsidize all these countries so that their citizens can enjoy like an easier, more relaxed lifestyle than we do.
Yeah. While they get murdered by immigrants. I feel like I see a news story about a stabbing in Europe from an illegal immigrant every single day. But here's the clip.
Sure, this audience that Ukrainians will be at the table and Europeans will be at the table.
Oh, well, you just changed the whole dynamic. Victor, thanks for having us today. I appreciate it. The answer to that last question, just as you framed it, the answer is no. The answer to the earlier part of that question is yes. Of course, the Ukrainians are going to be at the table. I mean, who would be foolish to say they wouldn't? But when you say at the table, you have to define it. One of the things I'm driving towards is we've had a good, remember, this war has been going on now. We're heading into the third year. One of the things we haven't really gotten to are specifics. What does it really look like? And we talk a lot about it, and I will criticize, and I know I'm being very, very, political when I say this. But President Trump inherited this war right now, but our philosophy is not to continue this war to the death of every last Ukrainian. The intent is to stop the carnage, stop the war, make sure it's reasonable, making sure the sovereignty stays intact. But we're going to get to specifics about it. When you say sitting at the table, in all probability, there's really going to be one of the reasons I'm here is for the input, obviously. But when you sit at the table, there's two protagonists when you look at it, and there's one hopefully to be an intermediary.
Okay, who are the protagonists and who's the intermediary?
Well, I'm saying is it depends. Notice I'm being very diplomatic about it. I got my diplomatic hat, my passport in my pocket. The fact is, we're looking at, you can have the Ukrainians, the Russians, and clearly the Americans at the table talking, but we've got to have specifics to get to a point.
I didn't realize that this was at the Victor Pinchuk Foundation. And he gave a shout out to Victor. He's like, hey, Victor, thanks for having us right at the beginning.
Okay, so does everybody know who Pinchuk is?
Yeah, I do.
Spygate.
You can explain it.
Yeah. Victor Pinchuk, a huge, huge donor to the Clinton Foundation, was featured heavily in the Spygate drama as being one of the facilitators of such. And honestly, it's been so many years, I forget the specifics.
Yeah, I actually don't remember the Spygate stuff, but I know he's a big donor to Clinton Foundation. Wasn't he something to do with uranium? The uranium one
something
scandal?
to do with possibly uranium or possibly what was it called? Skolkova. which was this supposed to be Silicon Valley of Eastern Europe or Silicon Valley of Russia or something like that. He's an oligarch. He gave a bunch of money to the Clinton Foundation. I think he tried to buy our government. Possibly he succeeded.
Yeah, I just thought that was interesting that he was there because he's definitely the Clinton guy. Accusations of corruption. I think he was. Wasn't he also Kolomoisky's like competitor?
And Kolomoisky is the owner of Burisma.
Yep. Oligarch Igor. Here you read it, Patrick. Too many big words for me.
On 4 March 2015, at the hearing on Special Control Commission of Privatization in the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine, oligarch Igor Kolomoisky accused Viktor Pinchuk of receiving a bribe of $5 million a month for the right to manage Ukmafta, 50 plus 1% of which is owned by the state company Naftogaz of Ukraine. According to Kolomoisky, the money was transferred to offshore companies, the ultimate owners of which were identified as Viktor Pinchuk and Leonid Kuchma.
And then later on, so he got investigated because of Kolomoisky, and then later he sued Kolomoisky for $2 billion, along with another guy. That's interesting. So he's like the nemesis of Kolomoisky, and we've talked about him so much. Like, it's been a while.
I know, it's been a long ass while. So that was, listen, who was the woman interrogating him?
I have no idea.
Okay, and that was, I've never seen his face before. So who was that? Just to make sure I get it right.
It was Kellogg, General Kellogg.
Yeah. So that was General Kellogg giving a very sensible pro-peace standpoint while being also very diplomatic at the same time. However, what he is saying is incredibly inflammatory to the countries of the European Union, especially the Western countries of the European Union, because any peace in Ukraine, for some reason or another, represents the end of their world. And they act like it.
Yeah. I just think it's funny they're not going to be at the table, like you said, Chris.
Yeah. I just shared, John, a link from Mint Press News in 2015. I went over this on my podcast. We don't need to spend too much time on it, but it's this amazing article about Ukraine. George Soros, puppet master behind Ukrainian regime, trails of corruption revealed. And so I wanted to pull this up because it has Naftogaz in here. And this article in general is a great picture of how the U.S. foreign policy establishment and some of these global philanthropists go about overthrowing countries through the color revolution. And then they begin to flood all the money in there to stand up all these transnational businesses, take over resources and the rest of it. And with all of the USAID talk of the last few weeks, it's all in here. USAID, National Endowment for Democracy, Freedom House, International Republican Institute, National Democratic Institute, Solidarity Center, Eurasia. It just keeps going.
Let's zoom in and read some of this.
This part was what I went through on the podcast yesterday, but we can do the Naftogaz first and then get into that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Naftogaz, the target. The Soros memo makes clear he has his eyes on the Ukrainian state gas and energy monopoly, Naftogaz. He writes, quote, "The centerpiece of economic reforms will be the reorganization of Naftogaz and the introduction of market pricing for all forms of energy, replacing hidden subsidies," end quote. In an earlier letter, Soros wrote in December 2014 to both President Poroshenko and Prime Minister Yatsenyuk, Soros openly called for his shock therapy. Quote, "I want to appeal to you to unite behind the reformers in your government and give your wholehearted support to a radical Big Bang type of approach. That is to say, administrative controls would be removed and the economy would move to market prices rapidly rather than gradually. Naftogaz needs to be reorganized with a Big Bang, replacing the hidden subsidies," end quote.
What year is this article?
2015.
Before or after Maidan?
After.
Okay.
But
splitting Naftogaz into separate companies.
So this would have been after the Maidan, but before Hunter was on the board of Burisma. And that's still something we haven't had resolution to.
No, we have not. The puppet master.
Yeah, keep going.
The totality of what is revealed in the 3 hacked documents show that Soros is effectively the puppet master pulling most of the strings in Kiev. Soros Foundation's Ukraine branch, International Renaissance Foundation, IRF, has been involved in Ukraine since 1989. His IRF doled out more than $100 million to Ukrainian NGOs 2 years before the fall of the Soviet Union, creating the preconditions for Ukraine's independence from Russia in 1991. Soros also admitted to financing the 2013-2014 Maidan Square protests that brought the current government into power. He admitted to financing that?
Well, in these documents.
This is unreal. Soros's foundations were also deeply involved in the 2004 Orange Revolution that brought the corrupt but pro-NATO Viktor Yushchenko into power with his American wife, who had been in the U.S. State Department. Wow, would you look at that? I hope she's at least hot, Victor. I hope it was worth it. In 2004, just weeks after Soros's International Renaissance Foundation had succeeded in getting Viktor Yushchenko as president of Ukraine, Michael McFaul wrote an op-ed for the Washington Post. McFaul, a specialist in organizing color revolutions, who later became U.S. ambassador to Russia, revealed, did Americans meddle in the internal affairs of Ukraine? Yes. The American agents of influence would prefer different language to describe their activities: democratic assistance, democracy promotion, civil society support, etc. But their work, however labeled, seeks to influence political change in Ukraine. The U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, the National Endowment for Democracy, and a few other foundations sponsored certain U.S. organizations, including Freedom House, the International Republican Institute, the National Democratic Institute, the Solidarity Center, the Eurasia Foundation, Internews, and several others to provide small grants and technical assistance to Ukrainian civil society. The European Union, individual European countries, and the Soros-funded International Renaissance Foundation did the same.
They just come right out and say it.
They came right out and say it, and then Trump gets elected, and they do the exact same shit right here.
Yeah. That's why the president can't have wartime powers.
Executions for this.
Yeah, man, that's a great find. How'd you find that? Where'd you find that?
Someone sent it to me in my Telegram chat a few years ago, and I went through it on my podcast a few years ago. And yesterday, I don't remember exactly what reminded me of this, but I was like, I got to go back and find this. And there's another article, I think, that I went through in the same old episode, and it talks about how Soros, basically, when he makes these plans for all the money that's going to come in and be invested, he's like, it's not going to go to me. It's going to go to the Open Societies Foundation.
Yeah.
So it just recycles through so that they can take over more countries.
Yeah. You make a great point, though, Patrick, when you're talking about this is exactly what they did domestically. Remember, they admitted to as much in that Times article from February of 2021. They admitted the whole thing.
Yeah, we didn't rig it. We fortified it. We provided democracy assistance.
Insane. But I'm very excited to see how this situation in Ukraine and Russia resolves and what the agreements are. Like, are they going to expose any corruption stuff? He went in there. His special military operation was to denazify Ukraine. Are we going to get any of the end results to that task that he set out on? Because really, there hasn't been much talking about that. The biolab stuff, are we going to get any of that? You know, I'm very curious to see the disclosure of specifics with this whole thing. And leaving the European Union out of it, huge. Love it.
Well, I think all of this is a narrative layer to explain why the maps are going to be redrawn in a way that the global regime would have never approved of before.
Like Russia completely taking Ukraine and all of it?
Yeah, it might be all of it. Trump said he was going to take all of it the other day, and so it might be all of it. But as far as Crimea and the Donbass goes, like, that's just Russia, and it's been just Russia for years, and we're still told that's Ukraine, or that there's some chance that Crimea is going to be part of Ukraine. And Ukraine, as you know, described in that article, after the Soviet period, the idea is that they're just taking these chunks of land in these, countries in Eastern Europe and pulling them into the regime so that they have the control. They can take over the land and the resources and set up military operations to then threaten Russian territory. And that's the dynamic that they've had playing out in all parts of the world for generations. It's crazy.
It's a great way to put it. Like the regime trying to take some of Russia's territory. That's essentially what happened. And then what they created there was this proxy state for them to launder money and do all sorts of nonsense. I mean, I don't know any Ukrainians, but do they want to be part of Russia? Like if the
Ukraine
that's part of the agreement.
means the outlands. It's the word itself literally means they didn't refer to it as Ukraine. They referred to it as the Ukraine, as in the back 40 of Russia. And so it was a region of Russia. It is not this ethnically different group as some newly Ukrainian patriots here in the United States would have us believe.
Well, think about this for a second. So I'm thinking of Zelensky and his non-re-election bid where they just cancel the elections outright. Like if they're able to, the regime, install somebody else instead of Zelensky, because Zelensky, for whatever reason, you can say he's fully controlled in part, whatever. He is, maybe there's some truth to that. Okay, let's pretend there is. If they are able to replace him, they might be able to negotiate something else. But the fact they didn't have that last election and he's still there, theoretically, he could sign over all the territory to Russia. Could he not?
Yeah, but then they'd kill him.
Why? They're not going to attack Russia. They're not going to try to stop. They couldn't stop that.
I mean, the European clowns would kill him.
But that agreement, I don't think Trump would allow to. The European Union is not even going to be part of the conversation.
For some reason or another that I don't think any of us is able to answer, the survival of the current heads of the European Union depends upon the continuation of this war.
Well,
that's the best reason to do it. Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
It seems like they are the proverbial emperor without clothes, and now people are about to see that they have no clothes, and it's not going to be a secret anymore, and no one's scared to admit it anymore. I mean, that's where we're going with this. And in terms of taking over countries, we were talking about them trying to, move into Russian territory. One of the things we've been finding out with the USAID stuff is that it was kind of war below the level of recognition by the rest of the world. They never have to declare war. They just spend a lot of money. They get in and slowly infiltrate, change the culture, change over the leadership, steal elections, and the military element never really needs to come into play except in smaller events if necessary. The rest of the time, they just operate below that level, and it had worked for 50 or 100 years.
Yeah, that's the wrong one. This is the wrong one show.
Ghost of Base Patrick Henry. Crimea was where the baptism of Russia occurred in 788 AD. When Russia became Christian overnight, Kiev was the capital. And don't forget, there are two different spellings of Kiev, and those spellings each indicate strong political leanings. And by the way, I side with Ghost's spelling of Kiev.
Yeah. I started reading this book by a man named Warren Hasty Carroll, who is a historian. The book's called 1917. It is like the best history writing I've ever read. It's like a brilliant novelist writing history, and it's absolutely profound. But it's about World War I in Europe, and particularly 1917 and the Russian Revolution. So really good stuff. Anybody out there who likes reading history, Warren Carroll.
Hey, by the way, guys, just wanted to say we haven't hoarded for likes at all during this episode. So hit the thumbs up, y'all.
Yeah, if you guys wouldn't mind, it's one of the best metrics for us. If you could do us a favor, whatever device you're watching on, get on one where you could hit that thumbs up. we greatly appreciate it. Patrick, you should also do a quick ad read if you don't mind. But Chris, I just got sent this book. I was going to read it. I don't know if you've.
Wow. No, I've not heard of that. No.
Yeah, I went through and like read a couple things. It's pretty interesting. So I'm going to read it before Gart, and I'll give it to you when we get there.
Cool.
If it's any good.
Guys, one of the things that we do here at Tulip Blooms is we try to improve the lives of everybody who buys our products. And we have just heard amazing things from the people who use the castor blend. We are seeing things like wrinkles just smoothing out, people's faces feeling smooth and dewy right after just a few uses. People are talking about their necks looking younger. One woman even commented, my phone voice, the phone's facial recognition doesn't recognize me anymore. I look so much better. One of the things, though, that some people have not loved is the core essential oil blend, because some of them just aren't fans of some of the essential oils in it, which are, tea tree, patchouli, rose geranium, and a few others. And some people said, I just wish we had an unscented version. And so you asked, we delivered. And right now, available in significant quantities right here at the Tulip Blooms World Headquarters, the castor blend in unscented without essential oil. We also have some in sandalwood, we have some in rose, and we have some in lavender. So get there while supplies last. Go to tulipblooms.shop. Use promo code BADLANDS for 10% off. And you can get your hands on this revolution in a whole bunch of different scents that you will love, including unscented, for those of you with just those sensitive little nostrils. Tulipblooms.shop, promo code BADLANDS for 10% off. And don't forget, when you use that promo code, 25% of that sale goes directly into an account that pays all of Badlanders their salaries. Tulipblooms.shop, promo code BADLANDS.
Buy it so Patrick can get another light for his office, guys.
Second light. Need a second light, guys. I don't want to use this fluorescent crap. Makes me look like Nosferatu.
Should we talk about the gold thing? Patrick,
yes, but can I do one more thing on this Munich security conference?
Sure.
Or maybe two little quick things.
Take it, man.
So Marco Rubio's plane got grounded or turned around or something a couple of days ago. And in 2023, I don't know if you guys remember this, but Kamala's plane got grounded and she had to take a C-17 back to Washington, D.C.
From Munich?
Yep.
Interesting.
Isn't that
makes it
strange?
more interesting.
It's like all of this is just fake or something, and they're just using the stories over and over again. And then also just for laughs, I think it's probably worth
I love laughs.
Playing this. This is Kamala explaining what was happening in Ukraine in 2023.
This is a great clip.
Any level of news, even social media, you're seeing everything that's going on right now in the Ukraine. Break it down in layman's terms for people who don't understand what's going on and how can this directly affect the people of the United States.
So Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically that's wrong.
She's so dumb.
Good.
Basically.
Dude, I'd forgotten how much fun she was.
Joe Biden too. I'm gonna miss him.
It's just, it was a different era. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
It's a different kind of awesome when Trump's out there, like just laying the smack down, talking about what's actually going on, being totally transparent. It's so different than Biden stumbling out there, reading from a teleprompter, not even doing that correctly, can't find his way off stage, takes unscripted questions, totally blows it, can't understand a word he says. It's just all hysterical, like two different kinds of hysterical.
Trump going out there and talking to the American people every day from the Oval Office while he's getting things done is by far the best our politics has ever been. And I was, and I don't know, maybe you guys don't agree with me, and that's fine. But yesterday I was suggesting on my show, I think that actually we're getting the real layer from Donald Trump. Like he's telling us this stuff is what to pay attention to. And then we're getting all of this like extraneous nonsense from the mainstream media, this Munich security conference. I mean, this is meaningless. There's no negotiations happening in Munich. That little meeting between Zelensky and JD Vance yesterday, that's nothing. That was a photo opportunity.
Yeah.
Donald Trump,
Zelensky.
for both of them, I think. But so earlier in the week, or maybe it was the end of last week, Trump was asked in the Oval Office, is JD Vance going to meet with Zelensky next week? And he was like, I don't know. Like, I think I'll probably meet with Zelensky. He might come here or whatever. And there's going to be this, all the hype this week was that JD Vance and his little coterie was going to meet with Zelensky. And Trump just preempted that and called Putin and called Zelensky. That means that there is no negotiation happening at the Munich Security Conference. That was a photo shoot. So to take it seriously, I think is pointless.
You know, that's a great point. I forgot about that clip. Do you have it by chance when Trump says that?
I could find it.
Okay, if you could, that'd be cool, because I think that's a really good point you're making. And I take back what I said earlier about it was a photo op for Zelensky, because based on how you just framed it, makes total sense. It was for both. Trump is like the only guy, I think, that could give us the actual versus just narrative. Like, he's the only one that could basically choose which layer he wants to operate on. Because I think he's the only one that we know for sure has the full picture of everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's a really good point as well. Like, sitting there talking about what's going on from the Oval Office.
Yeah.
Pretty incredible.
And there was that little dust up yesterday in the media about JD Vance's comments and how he said that Donald Trump would leave everything on the table. And of course, he would. I just don't understand why JD Vance is representing the administration's position even to that extent at all, because he was not actually representing the same language that Donald Trump uses. He was kind of just stating his own point of view about that. Shut up.
That's a good point. Yeah, if you can find that clip.
Yeah, I'm going to try to.
I'm trying to find it too, and I can't. Patrick, you got anything to add, though?
I'm kind of excited just in general to see what the hell is going on with this whole Ukraine thing, because there is no resolution that the bad guys will find acceptable. And we have no further visibility into what's preventing anything from happening. And also, I just watched the interview between Viktor Orban and Tucker Carlson. And he asked Orban, what's the effect of this war? And he only described economic effects, which are cataclysmic for Hungary, which is a small country. He said they're losing something like $8 billion a year. But he didn't describe the military effects. And if it is, in fact, it's just flat, and there's bullets flying, and they never stop until they hit a body, and then there's millions of deaths, etc., you would think there would be more military descriptions of what's going on there. So I have a little bit of skepticism about the war itself as well.
Yeah, well, think about what he's doing there when he's upping these death numbers. He's making the toll of the war, as communicated to the public, much, much worse, while he's also fully laying the blame for the entire thing on Joe Biden and these insignificant people in Europe.
And they are insignificant.
We're being shown every day how insignificant they are. Yeah.
No luck on the clip?
No, and maybe I'm just not looking the right way. I'm almost certain that it was on Monday.
I'm looking through your timeline here too.
Or it could have been Friday. I don't know if I actually posted it.
There's a clip of JD Vance being his successor.
Oh, that's funny. It's amazing, that Bret Baier interview, that he says, he makes it clear, Trump does, that it is absurd to believe that the election results as reported are real. He basically says it's a fake election. And then he says no to the idea that JD Vance is the successor. If you combine those two things and understand that we're kind of in this post-constitutional period, there have been people who have theorized that Donald Trump is the last president. And
you know, there was a book by Ingersoll Lockwood called The Last President. Oh my. From the New York Times.
Well, we're not reading. We're not reading this. Sorry, I'm trying to find. I think it's this one. Oh no, that's Kamala Harris too. So I found one of your posts where you quote, "When a reporter asked Trump to clarify if he was in fact the one planning to meet with Zelensky, the president responded, he may meet next week. Yeah, whenever he'd like."
That's it.
Yeah, I just don't know where.
I don't have video there. What
No.
date was that?
That was the 8th.
Okay, that's perfect. I'll find it. So that was the Friday Oval Office thing from last week on the 7th.
Okay. Here, I'll come back to this clip. We'll play this first.
Brett Baer's exclusive Super Bowl interview with President Trump. Here's a preview of what we're going to see tonight on Special Report.
Do you view Vice President J.D. Vance as your successor, the Republican nominee in 2028?
No, but he's very capable. I mean, I don't think that I think you have a lot of very capable people. So far, I think he's doing a fantastic job. It's too early. We're just starting.
But by the time you get to the midterms, he's going to be looking for an endorsement.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that this has been the greatest opening, almost 3 weeks, in the history of the presidency.
It's definitely been the fastest and the most stuff
Well,
happening.
we've done so much so fast, and we really had to, because they have really, what they've done to our country is so sad. It's so sad. We're going to be bigger, better, and stronger than ever before.
There you go. Was that the day he met with the Japanese prime minister?
Yes. But those were separate Oval Office events.
They were. Okay, you're right.
I'm pretty sure he was at the desk when he was talking about Zelensky.
Guys, hit the thumbs up if you get a chance. We're just kind of
digging
a live dig here right in front of you. So if you like what you see, hit the thumbs up. And if you don't like what you see, hit the thumbs up anyway, because it'll encourage us to improve.
I
improve.
I went about this the wrong way. I should have just looked through my history, my watch history.
Yeah. I'm on that day. I just can't find was it the National Prayer Breakfast? No. That would have been a day longer. What the hell?
Apparently, I'm just bad at this now.
I have the press conference. I have that when they're sitting down. Whatever. I'm giving up.
Yeah.
You can keep persisting with this particular horror if you'd like. Let's talk about this. This is pretty crazy too, and I can't believe this is true. Patrick, you want to read this?
From Zero Hedge on Twitter. It would be great if Elon Musk could take a look inside Fort Knox just to make sure the 4,580 tons of U.S. gold is there. Last time anyone looked was 50 years ago in 1974, to which Elon responded, surely it's reviewed at least every year. And Zero Hedge responds, it should be. It isn't.
Is that true? We haven't reviewed that thing for 50 years.
What the hell do I know? What the hell does anybody know? What the hell does Tyler Durden know? But there it is out there. Elon Musk taking it seriously. But there's another tweet here that I'll put up there that'll kind of bookend this a little bit.
I do like bookends.
Yeah, Ronan Manley on X saying, and I quote,
zoom in on that.
There we go. Bank of England has defaulted on gold. Not sure why this hasn't gone mainstream.
Who is this guy?
I don't know who he is.
He does have one of the manliest names that there is, though.
Indeed, but he has, wow, shit. Well, he has 5,900 followers, so there's that.
He says he works as a precious metals analyst.
And then Douglas McGregor says the same shit. Ash tweeted it to me. Good times there. Let me see if I could find
here. There's there's this. This is from just the other day. Oh, there's a video. Why has the Bank of England seen a gold rush and an article with it?
Talk about gold. Look, we're surrounded by the stuff here, but obviously, other than jewelry and other forms of electronic uses, the main use for gold these days is as an asset. And there's something quite interesting going on with those assets around the world. But let's start by there's another nice bit of gold. Let's start by just reminding ourselves, where does gold actually come from? Well, a lot of it comes from out of the ground in various countries around the world, so Russia, China, the US, Canada. But after it comes out of the ground and it gets kind of minted, turned into bars and so on, often it ends up back under the ground again in vaults. And where are those vaults? Where do most people keep gold around the world? Well, it's New York and it's London. So in London, if we kind of zoom into London, underneath the Bank of England, a few floors underneath, you can actually hear the underground whirring around that level of the bank. There are all of these bars of gold, loads of gold, but it turns out some of that gold has recently been leaving London. Where's it going? Well, have a look at this. It is going from London across to New York. So it comes out of those vaults, it goes into planes, and then it flies across the Atlantic, usually in the bottom of a passenger jet. And it's actually happening, it's coming from other countries as well. So it's not just London. Everyone wants to bring gold to New York. Why? Well, have a look at this chart and you get a sense of what's going on. So this is showing you just how much gold is in various different warehouses. So commercial warehouses in New York. It was relatively steady up until the US election. And then look at this line. It went through the roof. And why is that? In part, it's because people are worried that Donald Trump is going to impose tariffs on gold being moved back into the US. So they're bringing loads of it back into New York. It's a glut.
Do you guys buy that?
No. That's retarded.
Okay, I just wanted to retarded check myself because I didn't buy that either. That's interesting. And if that tweet is true, they're out of gold because they sent it all to New York. It's all in the United States now.
I'm not like super interoperable between my phone and my computer, so I'm just going to read this tweet aloud. Hat tip to Ash in America.
Is it the hockey game one?
No.
Oh, she sent me that.
She did send me a hockey game one too. I don't know what that was about. Douglas McGregor on Twitter says, what's happening in London is going to happen here. London's bluff is being called. The banks are not solvent. The gold is not on hand. This may very well lead to the end of the United Kingdom. So there's Douglas McGregor in his typical, measured, very, very conservative response to this thing, referring to it as the potential end of the United Kingdom. The gold is not on hand.
Yeah, I like McGregor, but he also said that Kellogg's a war hawk and is just trying to get the United States to go to war with Russia. And he also like almost exclusively interacts with that Callisto guy.
Oh,
Callisto. I don't get it.
Callisto.
But yeah, that's interesting. That's so interesting. There's got to be another reason there. I wonder if obviously something shifted and they have to send all their gold here, like give us all our gold back or something. They're trying to refill the Fort Knox.
Well, there is the whole Q thing, you know. Gold will destroy Fed.
They're gonna throw gold bricks at the Fed.
Gold will destroy Fed. He didn't say gold will destroy the Fed. So I'm not 100% certain what that means.
Chris,
because you can interpret it in so many different ways, which is one of the beauties of cryptic messaging. But
I was not as good a conspiracy theorist back then as I am now, but I remember something in January 2021 about gold at the Vatican as well. Maybe people in the chat remember all that.
What about it?
Yeah, but the idea was that, well, you know, you got the City of London, Vatican, and Washington, D.C. as these kind of three city states in that global regime theory. And wow.
Is this it? Because I'm pretty sure they're about to fact check this wrong.
Yeah, that's going to definitely say it's wrong. But that was a
quintillion. Quintillion.
Yeah, bro.
Okay, so that's 34,000 quadrillion. 34 million trillion.
Wow.
Don't hate the messenger. I'm just sharing what.
That's more money
So
than
it's
there is in all
34
the
billion is the way to put it. It's a billion. It's 34 billion. Wait, did I have that right? No, that's not right. 34 billion trillion. There we go. Anyway, it's getting a little ridiculous. I'm starting to sound like Carl Sagan.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Well, a quadrillion is 10 to the 12th. No, sorry. A trillion is 10 to the 12th. A quadrillion is 10 to the 15th. And a quintillion is 10 to the 18th.
That honestly means nothing to me. So
okay, it's a
just
fucking
lot.
shit ton.
Yeah.
So anyway, breaking news: the 34 quintillion. Oh yeah, I'm not reading.
We
this
don't even
one.
have to read this. Sorry, I forgot I left
good.
it on the screen. I'm still looking for any other article. Yeah, it's just weird. That's a weird story. And why is nobody talking about that if they're actually out of gold?
I don't know, man. But that dude's report that all the gold is leaving England to come to the U.S. because people are afraid of Trump tariffing gold. No one tariffs gold coming into the country.
I think he said the movement of gold. Like, it's not just the gold itself. It's people moving gold. Well, maybe we should finish the clip. There's like a minute and a half left.
Okay.
And it's not just gold, it's silver and a few other things as well. But that's a problem, back to London, that's a problem for the Bank of England. Okay, so this is the back of the Bank of England where you physically get that gold out of the vaults. And it turns out it's quite hard to do that. And that's causing some issues. We just went to the Bank of England to talk to the governor, Andrew Bailey, about this. Here's what he had to say. Down kind of well beneath where we're sitting right now
yes.
is a lot of gold.
Yes.
But at the moment, it sounds like the bank might be having trouble getting as much gold out as people want. I mean, is that connected with what's going on around the world?
So you're sitting over, I think, about 420,000 bars of gold.
That sounds like a lot of gold.
That's quite a lot. A bit of commentary about, obviously, the time it takes to move the gold is, obviously you have to have a lot of security and a lot of, insurance around moving gold. So you can't just put it on the back of a lorry and take it away. So it has to be planned. So there are constraints. There are just very physical constraints. But we've got slots for all the gold people want to move in and out. By the way, we've got a lot of gold. In recent years, a lot of gold has come in. So gold does, not huge amounts, but gold does move in and out.
There's still plenty of gold at the Bank of England.
There's still plenty of gold at the Bank of England.
So plenty of gold still at the Bank of England, for the time being at least. But have a look at this. This is showing you how much gold there is in the New York Fed. So that's the other single biggest vault in the world. That's New York Fed. This is showing you how many bars, indeed, how much the gold there is at the Bank of England. It was climbing, as the governor was alluding to. It looked for a moment like it was going to exceed that. But in recent years, actually, that line has started to go down. And it happened long before Donald Trump came into office. People repatriating gold from London to China to India to other places. So that's down 10% since 2022. It's quite a big deal there. Nonetheless, if you take all of the gold, so the stuff in the commercial vaults, the stuff in New York Fed, the stuff in the Bank of England, everything that's under the ground in New York and in London, London is still in the lead. It is still the world center for the storage of physical gold, for the time being at least.
What else could they say?
I know. Just to give you an idea,
Badlandsgold.com, by the way. Badlandsgold.com.
34 quintillion dollars of gold would be many, many, many millions of times more gold than has ever been mined in human history. It is a stupid number.
Yeah, I mean, if I want to get a share of that, I'm down. So I hope the Pope has it and is going to give it out.
However, as far as quadrillions are concerned, the SWIFT system does quadrillions of dollars worth of transactions per year. So there's a lot of transaction power taking place in cross-border settlement.
The Trump in the Oval Office the other day said that BRICS was dead as far as he's concerned. And I don't know, how to take that necessarily, but really
I don't know what to
interesting
think about that either, because he said, the dollar's not going anywhere. It's going to be the strongest thing in the world, but we're also heading towards some sort of weird default situation or debt ceiling or shutdown on the 14th. Like, what is that? What are the ramifications of that going to be? And I don't know if BRICS is going anywhere. Like, it's there, man.
It seems like there's an attempt to decrease the money supply and kind of reverse all of the printing that's been done. And I don't know if that's going to happen or not. It's something that makes sense to me as where you can see this going in the future, because Donald Trump has always talked about the dollar. BRICS has talked about the BRICS nations setting up Bitcoin mining facilities in all of these small countries that have some of these small countries that have in particular removed elements of the regime and kind of the colonial powers in Europe over the last few years.
El Salvador, yeah.
So
I think that what we might be heading towards is a revelation of the degree to which our commodities trading has all been based upon fictitious commodities. That is to say, there is vastly more fake, fictitious, imaginary gold than there is actual gold. And the same would apply to something like silver, which we've already seen in some reports. They're selling each individual ounce of silver 30 different times to 30 different people. The same could be true of gold. Dude, I could give you $34 quintillion worth of imaginary gold. I could email that to you. So there might be something of that going on right now. A big fat accounting of lots and lots of fake paper gold that's not tied to any real gold.
Patrick's going to start a Nigerian prince scheme. He's going to start emailing everybody.
I can't pass for Nigerian. I'm going to go with Welsh.
There you go. Yeah, I don't know. This is fascinating, because we've also speculated so many times over all those executive orders and methods that Trump could use for the people involved in stealing our country, essentially, and subverting us. Why can't he just go seize their assets at some point and just be like, we don't have a debt anymore, because the reason we have a debt is all the crime that these people that have enriched themselves have been doing.
They've been criming so hard, man.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know how this plays out, but the first date that I'm looking at is the March 14th. The only leverage the Democrats have left is not letting them get that 60 vote margin to get it out of cloture in the Senate. So they're not going to pass a bill. They're not going to agree to something. I don't see why they would.
Then we get 10 days of darkness, I suppose.
Hell,
well,
yeah.
It's funny. Bannon this morning was talking about that period from March 4th to March 14th, and was kind of saying and hinting like, we might have to deal with another spending bill that nobody wants. It's just how it goes right now. But that 10-day period, it's going to be a little weird.
So he thinks we're going to get one, though?
I could maybe find the clip from this morning. I think it was kind of in his in the first segment that he does after the cold open at the beginning of the show, but I'm not sure.
Just from a logical standpoint, though, like if you're Trump, I don't think I'd want one. I don't think I'd want them to put a spending bill through. I would want the government to shut down, just like he did. He already showed us the government can shut down in 2018, and it's not going to affect that many people. Do it again now, when you have this government efficiency initiative going on and these people digging through all these agencies. That's the perfect time for Doge to be out there embedded in all these agencies and seeing like what the hell these people have been doing.
The flip side of that, though, and I think this is true despite how much it frustrates me, is that the longer this thing goes on, the only downside really is our frustration, like people who are already kind of awake and cognizant of all this stuff that's happening. But on the other side, there's every day more people moving in our direction, and they have all of these different, trump cards that are still remaining to be played. And people just keep coming in this direction without any of them being played. So for him, it's like just rug pull again. Rerun the stories again. If they're going to keep coming our way, why wouldn't we just keep slowly bleeding them out until everybody knows every last thing these people have done? And at the end of it, they're just begging for these situations to be resolved.
Yeah, I'm skeptical we get to that point, especially in the next 4 years, where we get everybody begging. Because honestly, I think there's too many people on our side preventing us from going all the way. You know what I mean? Like there's too many people that call themselves awake that aren't willing to push the issue in areas that you should be pushing. Instead, they just sit back and sit back on their confirmation bias, trusting the plan, and it doesn't go anywhere. Like the people that are waking up and going and following those people, they're not advancing themselves.
Right.
In my opinion.
No, I'm 100% in agreement with you. And if he's giving power back to the people and all we're doing is saying, yeah, don't worry, they've got it. Like, let the people on TV, let these illegitimate Congress members and senators do the things and say the things. We got to be sure we can win an election. We got to win the midterms in 2026. We got to win the presidency for JD Vance or Tulsi Gabbard or somebody in 2028. It's ridiculous.
They're like, at some point, we have to be willing to somebody somewhere, whoever's in charge of the secret plan that nobody knows about, but everybody knows exists. And we're clearly everything's going according to plan. At some point, like, there's got to be a end spot to that. Like, okay, now there's enough people awake. Let's move forward to the next plan. Or are we just constantly going to be in the phase of, well, we obviously got more people to wake up, so not until every person in America is awake to what's going on are we gonna.
I got to tell you, man, I think we're past that. Given Donald Trump's behavior right now, I think Donald Trump is past that. Like I said before, there needed to be a change of paradigm with the mainstream media and everything that Donald Trump is doing, acting swiftly under his Article 2 powers. That was not something he's been able to do until now, and now he is doing so with great alacrity. That would only be done if he was convinced that public opinion was where it needed to be.
Yeah. And me and Bernie Barry talked about this a little bit on Wednesday. It's not even necessarily that these people need to be awakened and engaged. They just need to, the apathy switch needs to switch from wherever their apathy is prior to Trump. Like, before, they didn't care that the election was obviously stolen from Trump because Trump had mean tweets. But this time around, it's like, okay, I don't really care that Trump's going to dismantle the entire government and their corrupt spending because it's pretty obvious they were doing that stuff. So I don't really care what he does. Just stop it. Like, the apathy just has to switch. We don't need everybody engaged 100% like we are. We can't expect that.
Also, there's kind of just this like latent understanding that exists just below the surface. Like, for our entire lives, we've known people who have told us that elections are meaningless and that if our votes actually counted, they wouldn't have this process in the first place because this isn't how leaders are determined. And we just ignored that and are like, no way. Come on. That's silly. We got to go vote. And now we find out even Donald Trump the other day with Brett Baer just straight up was like, our elections are fake. So if we recognize that and actually act upon that knowledge, rather than just telling everybody to vote as hard as possible, what difference would there have been if we had taken that tack 4 years ago after we saw what happened in 2020? And instead we voted really hard in 2021, voted really hard in 2022, voted really hard in 2023, voted really hard in 2024.
Sports is...
Sorry, you can keep going. I just want to get the clip ready.
Well, we haven't voted really hard in 2025 yet, so I'm done.
Sports has always been something that Americans rally around to come together. They really do. You won the popular vote. You won all the swing states. But still, Kamala Harris got 75 million votes in the country.
Well, if you believe the whole thing.
Yeah. Okay. Let's just say
it is ridiculous.
The election wasn't as it was.
Excuse me.
He literally admitted it's a lie. If you believe the whole thing, yeah, she got 75 million. If you believe it.
Yeah, the whole thing is ridiculous, he said.
Yeah. I'll finish this, Claire.
There are 7 swing states. I won them all.
You did
by a lot.
But let me just get to the dismount here.
And I won the popular.
Have you thought about how to try to bring the
Brett Baer, just so quickly, let me get you off that topic. Whoopsie. That was a grenade.
Yep. He's the worst. He is the fucking worst.
And went right to unity. I heard you guys talk about this on Wednesday. He went right to the idea that it's Donald Trump's responsibility to get all Americans to kind of unify around something because it's still a 50-50 country. No, it's not. And it's funny because the Super Bowl, the narrative from the professional influencer class was that we all have to unify. Oh, look at that. The whole country's coming together around red, white, and blue being all over everything. It's like, oh, yeah, they couldn't be hoodwinking us with that.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just sick of being called, I got like essentially called anti-Trumper because I didn't trust the Anna Paulina Luna is part of the plan.
It's so
I just like I don't get the stupidity behind that.
She's I mean, I want my JFK files gone over in painstaking detail by a Jewish stripper before I see them, and that's just kind of my policy.
So you think I'm an anti-Trumper too for disagreeing with you?
Yeah, of course.
No, either blindly trust that this is part of the plan, no questions. Otherwise, you're anti-Trump. That's what I got told.
It's so weird to think that we have to like give our undying faith and support to all these other people just because they have little R's next to their names, or just because they're on Fox News, because they must be part of the plan. It's all scripted. Well, maybe it is, but in that case, Anderson Cooper and Rachel Maddow, they're our best friends too. And like Adam Schiff and AOC, well, Patrick, easy on AOC, but like Adam Schiff and Cori Bush and Nancy Pelosi, well, they're all playing a role, and we should clap like seals for whatever they do as well.
It's also just like,
then we're just applauding the TV forever.
And yeah, if that's the case, we're not even fighting an info war. Like, what are we? What's our purpose if all we do is just make sure everybody agrees with what we think is part of a plan?
But then if we just keep applauding the television forever, we're like, this story's going to wake everybody up, and we just keep going forever. Well, then we're just watching a television show all the time. I mean, at some point, these people are basically the same as the soap opera fans who like go to the soap opera conventions.
They have conventions?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
That sounds amazing. I could meet tons of soap opera stars.
That's right.
That's awesome.
I was thinking that sounds terrible.
Well, I think Badlands needs to produce a soap opera. I volunteer to be one of the patriarch characters.
Okay. I mean, I guess I'm down.
Yeah.
If you give me like how much it's going to cost and how much revenue it'll generate, and it's at least break even, I'm totally down.
Oh,
to whatever you want, man.
People don't respect art.
I respect some art. Hunter Biden's art was great. It's unfortunate we lost it all in the fire. And now
Wait,
the
did
floods.
we really?
Yes, all of his art was lost in the fires of LA County.
Okay,
We're
that's
told.
wonderful.
It's
That's
almost
so
like
awesome.
it never had to exist in the first place.
Exactly. Now they can no longer launder money with it. So the art that he definitely had and was definitely real
So
is no
good.
longer there. All right. We're getting almost 15,000 watching. Guys, hit that thumbs up if you could.
Yeah,
That'd be
thumbs
great.
up. Get us number one on the leaderboard. We got 4th place last time because we didn't whore hard enough.
I do got Zach sent over a video of what appears to be Ashley St. Clair dunking on Elon Musk.
I will watch videos of Ashley St. Clair.
Not that kind of video, Patrick, but
She's freaking cute, dude.
so I'll play this and then we can get to the rants.
Okay, last one, I swear, but I need to say, I'm not a conservative. I'm not a conservative. I'm not a conservative.
Okay, well, this is an old video, I think, but we'll play it anyway. But can you read the context for it?
Certainly. From Shadow of Ezra on Twitter, Ashley St. Clair is calling out Elon Musk for allegedly neglecting his duties as a father. Just one day after announcing the birth of Musk's 13th child, she is now pressing the billionaire to uphold their co-parenting agreement. Ashley St. Clair sounds like a Mossad asset. All right,
Yeah.
show me the Mossad asset.
Because this was before. I've seen this video before.
I haven't.
Okay, last one, I swear, but I need to say, I'm not a conservative. I'm not a conservative. I'm not a conservative. I don't want any part of whatever this weirdness is going on. I don't agree with it. I think a lot of you guys are going to look back in 10 years and say, where the hell did my country go? With zero introspection for the vast amounts of time you've wasted on meaningless discourse by design about women and body counts and hating women and repeal the 19th and blah, blah, blah. I am too traditional for the left, not traditional enough for the right. I consider myself a normal person from 10 years ago. And the only thing I care about is making a better country, better world for my children, for my son. And I think many of you are insane. I think you're insane people who many of you should be institutionalized, frankly.
Said, can we be cousins because I would fuck my cousin? Can I be black?
What the heck's happening? Is that her?
That was her. Yeah.
No,
Oh,
no.
man.
What?
Well,
That
yeah,
was her.
Patrick. Yeah.
A lot-
No,
that was her
those aren't
blog.
the same girl.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, she had her lips vastly expanded from one of those videos to the other.
Yeah. There's the Instagram influencer set. They've all had like facial upgrades
And filters.
body upgrades.
And filters do all
And
sorts
there's that
of crazy
too.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is some sort of op. We won't spend any more time on it, but
She's a silly little girl, and I almost feel sorry for her. She's cute though.
all right, man. We got some boosts. Let me pull these up. We got Abe Froman for $17. Can't watch live tonight, but I have a question. When I'm out and about in the world and I see someone wearing a mask, I find myself saying in my head, "Oh, look, it's a retard." Does that make me a bad person?
No.
You a Chris Paul fan?
I don't feel the hostility towards those people that I did even a year ago, though.
I do if I
feel
see them
sorry
alone in
for
their car. If I see them alone in their car, I want to throw something at the car.
I saw that today and I was immediately infuriated.
So stupid.
It's just
Are you
so
mad at
vague.
them or are you mad at like the
All of
powers that be that just all of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm mad at the monsters who made it happen, but I'm not so much mad at the maskers anymore. I feel so bad for them.
Yeah. I don't feel bad for them. Like at
They
some
live in
point
a
you
hell
deserve
that
it.
You
You
never
know?
will have to worry about.
Yeah. Anyway, Joe Biden's football. Why does everyone keep accusing Alpha of being a Fed? I realize he's mentioned oaths 23 times on his Twitter without ever discussing the existence nor implication of the FBI's cluster server linked in the drops. But can't we just practice unity?
That's my favorite word.
But he's probably a Fed. That's why we call him that all the time. But thank you for the $10.
Hey.
Lionheart 7777 for $50. Gentlemen, of all the amazing events of this past month, Cash's upcoming confirmation is the moment I think we've all been waiting for. Next week, right? God bless AOG. Yeah, 18th rumored.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, we got a few of them here. Liberator 89. Chris would love to see you and Abs discuss debate Lincoln. He's positive on either storm through the Q lens, but you've done great research on reconstitution. I think they mean reconstruction. Trump also likes to reference Lincoln saving the Republic. If we didn't really go there earlier, we probably could have. But if you read part 4 of my series, I quote a bunch of Lincoln's quotes where he's basically implying the same thing Trump did earlier with, president or a person trying to save his country is not breaking the law. Abe took the same approach. And there's some interesting stuff. You guys should do a debate.
I don't even know that we'd be debating. I just think that there's a possibility that we've been lied to about that part of history.
Sure.
And,
like all the other parts.
Yeah, exactly. But
who
it
we
doesn't
could be
mean that I
debating about-
know that it. Go ahead. Sorry, Patrick.
The big one that I watched was I watched a thing from Razor Fist on Lincoln, and I think there's definitely some really rich stuff that needs to be looked into there. But for any period of our history, I have to take such a step back. Like, I'm a big fan of the Prussiagate series, but I can't just take every bit of history that those guys put in their articles at face value.
Yeah.
Every time,
Yeah, what were you saying, Chris?
Well, first of all, I don't know what Ab's position on it is, and I'm not certain that my kind of counter narrative position fully encompasses any of it either. So,
yeah,
debating history seems kind of
Silly.
weird. Yes, but the one thing I will say is that so much of this stuff is narrative. And story structure is always going to be the same way and it always is in screenwriting or novel writing or whatever, because they need to hit all these certain beats to elicit the proper emotional responses and to get people to believe the right things about the story. So they have to use the same form over and over again, which means that the stories are going to cycle. And we can look back through history and see all the same beats that we're actually witnessing now. And so I think that you can play that backwards and forwards, understanding what we're seeing now and then layering that onto the past and vice versa. And understanding it that way, I think makes more sense.
You know, it's interesting you say that. When we were talking earlier about, you said, you know, I'm not sure I view Lincoln in the same way as many people would. And I was just looking into it very briefly. I was just on my phone with my family. And it's something I didn't even realize. But my question was, did Abraham Lincoln support the Reconstruction Amendments? And he was in support of the 13th, but he was not on the same page with everybody else about the 14th and 15th Amendments. 14th Amendment we've talked about a lot on the show. Like, so they get rid of them, and they're able to implement the 14th Amendment that is arguably unconstitutional, and they were able to do that because he was dead. And so now think of what we're witnessing now play out. Chris, you said many times that some of these stories, like the D-Class and maybe even the Doge and all these other things, we'd be getting a version of those stories playing out, regardless of if Trump was there or not. If it was Ron DeSantis or J.D. Vance or whoever, we'd still be getting that. Well,
because breaking down the government's part of the Great Reset. Sorry.
Well, my where I was going with that is, okay, they killed Lincoln, and then they get a different version of what we would gotten something under Lincoln, but we got a different version, the deep state version. And they tried to kill Trump. They couldn't get rid of him. They missed, whether you think that's real or not, but they didn't get rid of him. So now we're getting his version of this government stripped down, and not the J.D. Vance or Ron DeSantis version, which you say a lot that this probably would have played out similarly anyway, but it's different now. So sorry.
I think that script is still playing out, and that Donald Trump is just kind of this is why Burning Bright and I, when we did the Days of Thunder episode of Story Hour, the reason I chose that movie was to talk about the idea of drafting as it's shown in that film. Basically, you're just kind of riding behind this other car. It takes away all the wind resistance. So you have that extra little boost of power when you hit that final turn to slingshot around and take the lead. And so Trump's kind of just piggybacking on this Great Reset agenda as people get on board, understanding the narrative and the story from his perspective. And then at a critical moment, it's kind of going to go that direction rather than the other one. In terms of Lincoln and the stuff around the Civil War, you know, he's credited with keeping the Union together, but we would have to think that that's a good thing. And I can accept that it is, but the 14th Amendment and the Reconstruction Amendments in general inverted and overthrew the Constitution. So we can get a story about how the Union was preserved, but the Constitution wasn't preserved, not in its original form. Certainly, it totally upended the founders' intent with the original Constitution, and the 14th Amendment not ratified. And to the extent that it was, states were forced into that ratification at the tip of a bayonet. The military literally threw out state legislatures to force the ratification within states, and states withdrew their ratifications and they pushed it through anyway. So, you know.
Yeah, that's interesting. Anyway, KC Mom says, I would love to hear your thoughts about Joe Lang's America for Sale Part 1 and Part 2. Huma, Clinton, Jared, Obama. I actually haven't read the most recent one.
Well, you can check them out on Reading Epic Threads on the P. Gunnels Rumble channel. They are both live as of this week.
I'll have to do that. But yeah, that's all the boosts. You want to pull up the rants? Actually, before we do the rants, did you save them, Patrick?
I got them all.
Okay. That's what Trump said. Let me do this quick. If you haven't yet, guys, tickets are available to GART Vegas. We are coming up quick. We're like 3 weeks away or something, 4 weeks.
Isn't it? Yeah.
It is crazy. This week, I don't know what day yet, but this week I am going to host exclusive ticket holder live stream, maybe even take questions or something, get people to call in. I don't know how we'll do it. And we'll get some other badliners too, but you can only watch if you have your virtual or in-person tickets. So make sure you guys get on that if you haven't yet. There are single-day tickets available now. So if you're in the area and you want to come check it out, be sure to go to badlandsmedia.tv/events and click on purchase tickets and see if you can make something work. But all right, Patrick, let's do it, man.
All right, I've got them. The first one I have is Micro Toolmaker. So is that the correct one?
Yep.
Okay, good. $117 from the wonderful Micro Toolmaker. Batten down the hatches. What a storm. Where we go one, we go all. Thank you so much for your continued generosity.
Real quick before you go on, Patrick, I just want to give a shout out to Boom Diggity. She gifted quite a few subscriptions throughout. So thank you so much, Boom Diggity. Very appreciated.
Epic. Does that not show up in the super chats?
It doesn't show up in this thing that I'm pulling up.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
very cool. Well, get ready for a humdinger from Boom Diggity later on as a regular super chat. $17, old checkerboard Vans. Hey guys, before I see you all at GART, I found this gem. Trump on drums, Elon singing, but Uncle Sam rocks. Great AI Fafo song. And there's the link. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
$2. It's Tony, man. Every woman on X should post the exact post. I'm not 100% sure what you mean by that, but thank you for the super chat. $1, Keith O'Higgins. USA beats 51st State 3-1. Trudeau left red-faced while not wearing blackface this month. Well done, sir. $20, 1027 JS. USA beat Canada in Four Nations hockey.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Joe,
Thanks,
for the rant.
Joe.
Ash said that Russia wasn't even there, so it's not a real tournament. Doesn't even count.
It's a good point.
Exactly. $1. Custard 1. Is Trump's post possibly about what has already happened versus what might happen in the future? Your guess is as good as mine. $5. S. Smith 5484 Saturday Night DPH. Chris, you're awesome. I've called Anna Paulina Luna una panuna bunka all week. You made me laugh hard last night when you played it. Glad you thought that too.
So funny.
Patrick, are you familiar with that?
No, did I pronounce it right?
Yes, you did great. We can probably do that again. I mean, I think it's worth it.
It is. I'll get it pulled up here.
In the meantime,
I think
$5, Joanne Coach. Napoleon quote is the Dems ends justify the means, thinking Trump post has them screaming against it. Something will drop about Obama. He is taking the ends justify the means away from them. Fair point. Is it time for the...
I don't got it in my...
I got it here, John.
Oh, pull it up.
Are we ready? Okay.
Yep. So good.
Yeah.
I remember that routine.
Can you send me that link?
Yes, I can.
Wookin' Panub.
So funny.
$1, Keith O'Higgins. I think Vance used the word aspirations on purpose for the European audience. Besides Kakala's overuse of it in her campaign, Europeans hear aspirations and think methane production. Well done.
Did you read Joanne's?
I
miss
did.
that? Okay.
I did. Napoleon quote is the Dems ends justify the means. $17, Scooter 2650. Amazing. I cannot believe so many are missing all this fun. So much love and respect to all. Where we go when we go all, and praying for a fun outcome at the least. Oh, it's going to be fun, especially if you come to guard. $5, John in Connecticut. You guys ought to consider having the author of the Red Amendment on one of your shows to discuss how the 14th Amendment bifurcated acts of Congress into constitutional and extra-constitutional acts. Sounds interesting. $1, Emerald Dragon 1333. If I ever hear the word democracy again, it will be too soon. Damassery. Also, hi guys. Thank you. How are you?
Thank you.
$5, Wedged Gravy. What's the over-under on the dissolution of the EU? 6 months? 12 months? I don't know, but it's a good thing to speculate about because it could happen.
Maybe Russia can take them over too.
That would be fine at this point. They're such friggin' bitches. $1, Keith O'Higgins, a German politician using an interpreter with an Asian accent. Maybe these Krauts are thinking of getting the band back together. Good thing Milei kicked them out of Argentina. Bye, bitches. Yeah, I don't know why they would use a Chinese interpreter. That's just weird. $10, J Drake 83. Here's me chipping in so Patrick can fix his lights so he doesn't look like he's about to tell a ghost story, although I'm sure we'd all watch that. Ha ha, thanks and carry on. Yeah, Zach texted me And it's like, whatever light I told you to get, you're using it wrong. So yeah, there's definitely something going on there. $5, John in Connecticut. LB Bork is the author of the Red Amendment. He can be contacted at pacalliance.us/contact. That's good info. Thank you. $1, Keith O'Higgins. I remember the Orange Revolution being called Pulp Fiction. Who knew the gimp in the cage was a willing Zelensky? Couldn't agree more. $17, Crane Out 59. This is for Patrick. Incandescent bulbs will be back on the shelves soon. Just saying. Looks like incandescent is back on the menu, boys. $5, Dahlstrom. Just got back from moving my firstborn into her first apartment. This mom is not doing so well. Hopped on here to keep my mind off of things. Love all of you at Badlands. Love you back. Thank you so much. $2, Wedged Gravy. Fun fact. Each foot of the new Air Force One costs $8 million. That is quite the fun fact. $1, Keith O'Higgins. It'll be very interesting when they start talking about the gold at the Vatican. Maybe the new Pope will address it.
When we get a new Pope?
I don't know. I mean, Francis is in the hospital or something. So, thoughts and prayers and all that stuff. $5.
That's what I titled the episode. That was perfect.
Oh, wow. Full circle.
Except that it was a different thoughts, but
yes, a different thought about a different thought. $5, Wedged Gravy. In 1992, Ross Perot described NAFTA as that giant sucking sound. This gold chart is an example of the opposite. Trump turned on our vacuum. Now we are the giant sucking sound. World economy. Nice. I know what you mean. I watched that debate live, but I was very young and did not understand it. $1, Keith O'Higgins. America has more gold than Great Britain because of our proclivity for pawn shops. Also because we have better dentists and rappers. Couldn't agree with you more. $20, Aloha MF. Chris, I like your slow bleed theory. Is this a reason why to not release everything all at once? I do not know. I do not know. $1, Wedged Gravy. Q34 coming. That's my darn favorite Q. That's the best Q of all the Qs is Q34. $20, Q of Swords 3. Remember, the awakening is not just us. It's worldwide. It takes a while. I think we're there. I think we're just waiting for the execution. And for the pièce de résistance, boom diggity, 500 smackaroos.
Whoa. Thank you, Boom Diggity.
Yes. Thank you very, very much. This one is for such a great show and the Jewish stripper comment. Release the files and return the power back to the people. I
Amazing.
Thought Boom Diggity might enjoy that one.
Thank you, Boom.
$1, Keith O'Higgins. Patrick, you could star in a Badlands conspiracy-based soap opera called General Albert Pike Hospital. Nice.
I like it.
I like it. $10, Escape the Matrix 91. This is a great episode of 10th Amendment Center. All Anons should watch. YouTube.
I love that show, by the way. 10th Amendment Center is awesome. And Path to Liberty is their podcast. Very much worth your time.
Cool.
And we should get him on. We should get him on Badlands at some point. We should reach out.
Yeah.
$5. PJW. Chris, there was a caller on News Treason's Friday show. She's a screenwriter named Bria. She did an awesome job of talking about the movie we're watching. Recommend you go check it out.
Cool.
Nice. Screenwriter call in. I missed being on that show. I fell asleep. It was late and I was just exhausted. $5 Space Force Unit. I'm cheap and I'm a bastard. Good work, guys. Hey, $5 is $5. That's Lincoln,
Thank you.
Thank you very much. $5 Namster. My cousin pushes vaxes. No vaxes for me, 30 plus years. She called today crying, no vax ever again, and dog sick. She's sick like a dog. She got flu vax yesterday, and today she'll never get another. Winning. That is freaking winning. Absolutely. And finally, $10, low light recovery. Jay Abbott's office was really busy prepping the Vinalders for Charlottesville. Those guys were too hot to investigate for ISP, so they railroaded Richard Allen, the virtue signal. Thank you for that.
I think that's all of them.
Hot damn. And then one more, $5, call sign Cujo. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate all y'all.
Thank you, Cujo. Did you guys see there was like 3 fights in the first 9 seconds of the hockey game?
Yeah.
I haven't
So
seen this yet.
strange.
This is weird. We'll watch it later. But yeah, thanks guys for tuning in. Always appreciate it. Hit that thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Don't forget, visit our sponsors, River Bitcoin, badlandsmedia.tv/river, and tulipblooms.shop, promo code Badlands. And hit that thumbs up, guys. Don't forget.
Yeah. So we'll see you guys later. I'll be back Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern on the Daily Herald. Other than that, you guys have a great rest of your weekend.
Bye, guys.
Witness the motion picture event that is being called fucking amazeballs.
Do you see the difference in the M there?
It's go time. 25 later on my.
You got a seriously weird ass way of looking at shit.
If you look at the waviness of the little flag that comes out of the R is wavy. The one in the first hump in the M is not wavy. It's just a pure arc. Does that make sense?
We want to warn our viewers that these are extremely graphic images.
Give me a second, dude. This is more autistic than I've ever been before.